I almost didn't record this. I actually thought about quitting. Not like dramatic quitting, just why am I doing this? I've been doing these level 3 vocal workouts for weeks, and I've started alternating vocal workouts with performing some songs just in a rehearsal kind of way. And the other day I grabbed an acoustic and started to sing. I warmed my voice up and did all the things you're supposed to do, and it was terrible. It was embarrassing to the point where I got so frustrated and angry I just stopped. My voice was cracking. I couldn't hold pitch. It felt like there was something in my throat getting caught, like I was choking on something. And I didn't know if it was allergies or dehydration or if something was wrong. And I'm just sitting there like, how am I worse after all this work? And I've had days where I'll grab the acoustic and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've come so far and this sounds so good and I'm so ready to do this. And then that happened. And I'm like, man, what if this was a show? Like, what if I walked into a venue ready to sing and play and I felt like that and I sounded like that? And I'm just like, if this isn't reliable, if this isn't consistent, I can't trust it. And I don't know what to do from here. All this work and all this effort and all this time, and it's fragile. It can fall apart at any minute. That's not going to work. And if I can't trust it, what am I even doing? And I started thinking about, why am I doing this at all? You know, we've been going to many concerts. I said in an episode that we were going to 27 concerts this year, and my wife kind of joked like, challenge accepted. And we've gone to a whole bunch of concerts since. And we went to 2 this week. We went and saw the Wild Cards at a local place. And the Wild Cards is Luke Combs' touring band. So it's everybody but Luke Combs. Then the following night, we saw Luke Combs with, you know, the whole band and everything. And that show actually set a record at the Ohio University football stadium. 97,367 people were there. The biggest concert, the biggest event they've ever had there. It unseated Pink Floyd from 1994, who'd had 75,000 some there. The small local venue, that was a cool show. It was a little bit frustrating because the doors opened at 6. The opener went on at 7, and it was just a solo acoustic guy. And that guy played for 2 hours. And then they sat for 30 minutes, you know, for the changeover, ostensibly, but there was really not any changing over. And they went on at 9:30. So we got there at like 5:30 and sat for 4 hours before they came on. And then they only played for an hour and a half. And I mean, I get it. You want people there to eat and drink. But man, I shouldn't have to sit through some local guy for 2 hours. I shouldn't have to sit there for 4 hours to get to the band I came to see. And I'm a big advocate for the opening act because I am typically on the opening portion of the bill with my original band. So I encourage people to go see the opening band, but like we'll play 45 minutes on the long end. This guy was up there for 2 hours. There's not many people I want to look at for 2 hours. But the Wild Cards were really good. I mean, they sounded better even on the small stage than anybody that I've seen in a long time. And then, you know, the Luke Combs show was just incredible. I mean, the stage show and the lasers and the lights. And I mean, they had pyrotechnics and fireworks and all kinds. I mean, it's just a huge production. But a show like that usually stirs me up. Like, it usually fires me up. Like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be on that stage. I want to be doing that. And it didn't do that this time. And I mean, I've gone to see Luke Combs and walked out inspired and ready to dig in. And this time I just walked out kind of glad to get out of there. I mean, it was a lot of people, and, you know, the lines for the bathrooms were insane. The lines for drinks and merch were insane. And then there was these drunk idiots next to us. And honestly, if my wife hadn't been there, I probably would have had a different evening altogether. I mean, this one guy was just, he was an asshole. He was drunk. He was yelling at people. He yelled at me once. And my wife is very timid when it comes to confrontation. She doesn't like people yelling. She doesn't like people fighting. And so I just kind of calmly addressed him rather than reacting to him in the way that I normally would have for her sake, because she doesn't want to be involved in unpleasantness. And it was cold. You know, I mean, you're kind of rolling the dice having an outdoor show in April in Ohio, and it was 71 when we got there, and it was like 48 when we left. There were definitely some things working against me, but usually a huge production arena show like that just lights me up, and it didn't. And usually seeing a band as good as the Wild Cards would get me inspired to want to, get myself together, and it kind of didn't. It was good. I would do it again, but I was hoping for a little ignition in my soul, and I didn't get it. So it got me thinking, I've really been struggling. Now, I have been extra busy. We moved, I sold my house, multiple states, and a very complex tax situation. And then I had some other legal things come up that had to be dealt with. Not crisis things, just questions that had to be answered and appointments that had to be made. Monday and Tuesday, like I hit the gym, I do all my workouts, I do my vocal workouts, I do my guitar workouts. I did a podcast, like I hand washed and waxed our car. We've got a pretty big yard and I took care of all that. But I'm tired. And by like Wednesday, I'm struggling to get out of bed. And then by Thursday, I'm definitely half-assing it. And then Friday, I'm just checking the boxes. I don't have the energy level to maintain a consistent performance throughout the week. I get frustrated with progress because the things that I'm learning apparently are not translating into performance, and I'm only learning them to enhance the performance. I had these grand designs to try and get a single out by May 1st, and I haven't even started on it. I mean, that's not going to happen. I can't do it. I'm still learning this studio gear, and I'm not spending enough time with it to be anywhere near good at it. And so after we did that concert Saturday night, we kind of laid around all day Sunday. And I ended up sleeping like 12 hours, and I woke up and I was still wrecked. And the moral of the story is the impact of all this is it's making me question if I'm doing the right thing. I picked up a guitar in my teens because I loved what I was seeing on MTV. It was kind of the height of hair metal, and all of my favorite bands were so cool playing on these big stages, and they had all the money and they got all the girls and they had all the rock star life and the respect, and it drew me in. That's what I wanted. I tried to do it, and the band that I was in had some success, and then we didn't. And then I was kind of at the height of it when I went in and asked my wife out, and she said no because she was getting married. The band kind of fell apart after that, and I ended up marrying a girl that already had a kid, and at 22 or 23 years old, suddenly I'm insta-family and trying to earn a living. So I let that dream go, and I played for church and did the things, and I've talked about all that, and how 15 or 20 years later I started playing in bands again because life was so mundane and so boring, and I felt like I had this gift. And since that time, I've achieved so many of my dreams. My original band is signed to a record deal. We've played with some of my childhood idols. We've toured all over the place. I've played in other countries. I've played all over the U.S. I went to NAMM show this past year, and it was incredible, and I loved it. I've got a studio full of awesome guitars and awesome gear. The girl that I've had a crush on since I was 12 or 13 years old is now my wife. I don't really have to worry about money. I don't really have to worry about time. I've kind of done it all, and I've been in a very successful cover band. I've been in a very successful original band, and I'm wondering if this is what I still want. Like, I've kind of done it all, except for being the singer of a band, and if my voice can just fall apart, then listen, I'm not young. I just turned 54, man. I don't know that I can build a strong and resilient voice midway into my 50s. And when I think about how much I still have to learn, I talked last time about how there's a whole second skill set of promotion and internet ads, and basically everybody's telling me that if you're not running ads, you're not gonna grow organically. That's kind of a lie. And I've had a couple videos that got 100,000 views or whatever, but they were just little jokes. They weren't like my music or anything super profound. And I'm not saying I need overnight success, but what I am saying is I'm doing a lot, and I'm working towards what? I'm not sure. And I heard this story one time about a wife that was making the Christmas ham. Her husband came in, and she had cut the ham in half and put it into 2 pans. And he asked her why she cooked it that way. And she said, that's the way my mother did it. And so this went on year over year. Finally, one year, they had traveled and went and had Christmas dinner with her parents. And her mom came out with the 2 halves of the Christmas ham. And he asked her, why do you cook it that way? And she said, oh, I never had a pan big enough to get the whole ham in, and we could never afford to buy one. So I just cut it in half and cooked it in 2 smaller pans. We do what we have to do to get through, and then tradition kicks in, and we do it that way because we've always done it that way. And sometimes it's good to question why we've done it that way because sometimes the reason isn't there anymore. I mean, we could have bought a pan years ago that would hold the ham in one piece, but we didn't know that's why we did it that way. And so I find myself thinking back to why I got into music to begin with. Is it because I love the guitar, or is it because I wanted the outcome? I wanted the girls and the money. And if I've got the girl and I've got money, then it's time to rethink about why I'm doing this. And it's time to think about where I am in life and if it's what I still want and if it's worth putting the work and the time and the money into. You know, if I want to play music, I could join a cover band and play guitar yesterday. I feel like my energy is not keeping up with the demand of this. And I know I burned myself to the ground a year ago when I was doing all three bands. And maybe part of it is that, you know, the original band is picking back up and I kind of set up this goalpost for myself to get this song out. And maybe I kind of triggered the shutdown again. Like maybe I started the burnout again. But I feel like I lost the drive. I don't feel good. Like I don't feel energized. I don't feel excited. I don't really necessarily even feel capable. And I've kind of lost interest in a lot of things. I'm not doing what I should be doing, and I'm not super interested in doing what I should be doing. Even the stuff that I love, even the stuff that I have considered my greatest passion for years. I mean, I have all these guitars. I have all this gear, and I can barely make myself pick one up. And of course, you know, as soon as you say something out loud, the algorithmic gods open the portal to hell and say, here's what you need. And so my newsfeed is full of an app to help with executive dysfunction when you have the drive and the ability, but you can't make yourself do things, or you're addicted to dopamine, or you're in a depression and procrastination loop. And all of it kind of sounds right, but I don't think that's true because I can function when my body feels good. And it just doesn't. I mean, I feel tired. I wake up and I feel like I haven't slept. But beyond that, these late nights weren't as bad as I expected them to be. I mean, we went to bed at like 2 a.m. after the Luke Combs show, and that it was fun. You know, I enjoyed it. But I think about, do I want to do this 2 or 3 nights a week like I did? I mean, when I was in the cover band, man, we were 1, 2, 3 shows a weekend. Every weekend. And it got to the point where I hated it. I mean, a lot of the reason I hated it was because the person running it was not super good at running it. And it was like pushing a rock up a hill to get new songs in and get the band tight. And I know it would be different if I started a project that I was kind of known to be the leader of. But I don't feel good. I don't feel like I want to be on stage for 3 or 4 hours. I don't feel like my physical fitness is where I need it to be. I don't have the stamina. I don't have the energy. And I don't have the motivation. And I'm really kind of a little proud of myself for even coming down here to do this podcast because I kind of take it or leave it at this point. I'm not sure that it's going anywhere. I'm not sure that it's doing anything. And I'm not sure if I'm just wasting effort and spinning my wheels. And I don't know if this just means I've met everything that I wanted to meet in music and I don't want it as badly as I thought I did, or if I just don't feel good and that's clouding my judgment on everything. I don't have the answer. I don't have the solution, and I kind of don't know what to do. But I'm not fired up. I'm not inspired. But I didn't quit. Not yet. So what's the solution? I don't know. What am I going to do? I don't know. What is my next move? I don't know. I sat down to do this episode not even really knowing what I was going to say. But I did it, and that's kind of where I'm at across the board. So I didn't quit yet, and we'll see how it goes.